yesterday I had the opportunity to take part in Florida CFO Jimmy Petronis's IRS
I'm so excited.
roundtable.
Tell us about that.
Yes, tell us.
So I got invited through Breck,
Breck is
the Broward Republican Executive Committee, of which I am running for chair in the special election.
Woohoo! Vote for Abby.
Vote for Abby. And we do have a special episode, bonus episode up, specifically interviewing Abby and chatting all things campaign, which we'll talk about in this episode a little bit too, but some more in detail, which will be posted later tonight. So definitely check that out. Okay,
So, yeah, I got invited. Was it last week or the week before?
So Jimmy Petronis is the CFO.
He is the CFO of Florida. So he oversees the insurance process, which I know is a sticking point with a lot of people right now. But he did say in a little presser before the roundtable yesterday, there are 4 insurance companies that are coming back into the state.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
and they're
huge.
being vetted thoroughly through his office because they are taking on citizens policies. And
as
there
like
was
not as a reinsurance.
well, the same thing happened to me back in 2009 or 10. I think it was 2010 when I lived in my old house in
when
Fort
a lot
Lauderdale.
of them were leaving.
Yeah, because I had a citizens policy for windstorm. I might have had my homeowners through Citizens at that time too. And then there was I can't even remember the name of the insurance company. It was Homeowner's Choice or something like that. They came in and they were actually cheaper than Citizens was. And so it was a win-win situation. I got out of Citizens, I got out of the state fund and got into a private insurance policy. So I know there was a news segment on WPTV last night about the property insurance, and this is...
Maybe we can drop that in the chat.
Yeah,
or
I'll drop
the
link in the chat because I think I still have it up. But I know one woman they interviewed on the news said that another insurer did approach her, but the policy premium was more than Citizens, so why would she leave?
Right.
So...
But that means if they're coming back and there's options at some point, the market has to correct itself.
He also made the comment that Idalia, even though it was very destructive, it really the insurance policies in that area really didn't take a big hit from the destruction. So whether because it was a more rural area that it made landfall, there may have been less property destruction, there may have been more uninsured property, so less payout on the insurance company. So from a market perspective,
which by the way, Idalia, and then we had Ian. Irma.
The eyes are not.
They
need to retire.
I think they should retire eye from okay, that was one thing I was thinking about today about hurricanes, and then we'll go back to this. The other thing I noticed. Do you know that we're already on O?
Really?
Yes, and we still have 2.5 months of hurricane.
Yeah, but if we can make it through, make it through the next month,
October.
I'll feel way better.
Right, but my concern is we only have 11 letters left.
Yeah, but they went. I know they're not using the Greek alphabet anymore. I can't remember what they said they were going to go to after they go through the list.
So they have something they go out to.
Well,
after?
in 2020, we went through the entire alphabet.
Did we really?
And we started going through Greek letters because there was Tropical Storm Eta, ETA, that it made landfall. I think across the Keys, but I got pretty bad weather at my house.
I remember that. It was late in the year.
It was November.
Yeah.
It was early November because I was on a virtual conference because it was 2020.
Right.
And I was tuning in from home and I was all mad because I lost connection in the morning with Comcast. My Comcast went down and I'm like, what the heck's going on? I'm trying to do this conference.
There was a tropical storm.
There was a tropical storm, but I think the actual reason... At the time, I thought it was the storm. A squirrel chewed through my cable wire. Comcast had to come out and...
Did you shoot the squirrel?
I didn't see the culprit. He got away. That's just what the Comcast technician told me when he came out to replace the cable the next week.
Gosh.
Because it was intermittent. It didn't completely go out. So he only chewed a little the way through the cable.
Gosh.
Anyways.
That's a likely excuse.
Yeah. Okay. So
Brian said, solve all the problems tonight.
Yes, we will do our best, Brian. We're going to be
a super chat. We'll
give us a super
chat.
chat. Yeah,
we'll only solve all the problems if you give a Rumble rant.
Ooh, yeah, Rumble rant. Exactly.
So,
and we're going to be like a 1980s sitcom. We're going to solve everything in 25 minutes.
He mentioned that on his episode.
That's right. He did talk about that.
Yep.
Maybe
That's
it's
where
subconsciously subtly planted in my mind.
That's where our instant gratification came from.
Yes.
Yep. So we'll do our best.
So
with the Rumble rant.
Back to the roundtable.
Okay.
So CFO Petronis did one in Orlando a month or two ago. So this was the second one in West Palm. And he had it at the Okeechobee Steakhouse, which I don't know if you guys remember. Governor DeSantis had a press conference there in 2020 because the counties were, hem-hawing about reopening, and DeSantis came down and was like, we're reopening. And he did it from Okeechobee Steakhouse.
I do remember that.
Yes. So
I do. And the county was flipping their lids.
Yes. So I got to talk to the owner. He was on the panel with me. They've been there since the 40s.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
third. I think he's third generation in
we
the
should
business.
go there and have a thing.
It's an a la carte menu, just FYI. So be prepared to shell out a few bucks.
A lot
but
of money.
but I mean, you got to
Steakhouse.
support local businesses, especially
Right.
ones that have been there that long.
For that
Right.
long, yeah.
So we were the two. I believe No, there was a third business owner on the panel as well
How did they get your name?
through Breck.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they reached out to the executive director, and she's like, actually, Abby Stafford would be a better fit because she is actually in small business and she is a CPA.
Yeah.
So there was another small business owner who owns a remodeling company,
Mhm.
and he sits on the board of the Home Builders Association in the state. So there was 3 of us in small business. There were 3 elected officials on the panel.
Who? I saw Caruso.
Caruso, John Snyder. He's from the north part of the county and
Okay.
into Martin
Mhm.
County.
Oh,
And then
is he
count-
That's him. Okay, he's the guy who came and spoke at the REC meeting that I was pushing back on. And
Oh.
that gave us the rah-rah sis kumbah
Yeah.
speech that nobody in the room was buying.
What was it about again?
He just gave like a whole speech about all the great things that Tallahassee did. So that he opened it up for questions. People were asking questions about land being sold to China, what was happening with FP&L, why FP&L was going up so much, and then I asked him about the Live Local Act and why it was just as a
That's what
socialist
it was.
setup.
That's
And
what
he
it
did
was.
not like the fact that any of us were asking hard questions. Someone asked, "Where's Governor DeSantis?" Because DeSantis was in Iowa at the time, and he didn't have an answer for anything we asked him. It was
And you
fun.
just got to remember that's not Bo Duke
Yeah.
Who's Bo Duke?
from the
from Dukes of Hazzard?
Hazzard.
Oh, does he look
His
like?
name
Does
was
he look-
John Snyder.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So John Snyder, and then I saw Sarah Baxter. Was
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yes. County Commissioner Sarah Baxter.
All right.
And then the president of Kaiser University was the other gentleman on the panel, and then Jimmy Patronis.
And there was a woman on there. I
Oh,
saw,
yes.
the blonde.
What was her name? Shoot. I think it was Lindsay. She's from the James Madison Institute.
I don't know what that is.
So they're how do I describe them? They're kind of like a think tank policy institute where they promote, freedom and, limited government and all of that stuff. So she recently moved to Jacksonville from Michigan. She escaped from,
She's a refugee.
she is a refugee. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad she went to the north part of the
Wow.
state.
Fellow Michigander.
They have more, they have more capacity up there to take the
There's
refugees.
just more space.
Yeah.
We're full. We're full.
We haven't even gotten to snowbird
poor
season.
Michigan.
I know. I
My
keep
poor
seeing
Michigan.
your Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. The I keep seeing the transport trucks. More and more transport
Oh,
trucks. They're
yeah.
all back.
Yeah.
And it's very early.
Once you see the Canadian license plates, it's
Oh,
all
it's
over
all over.
for
All
6
over from
months.
there, yeah.
There's a blinker. You should use it.
I think we need to impose curfew on the snowbirds. You can't be out on the roads during rush hour. That you got to leave that to the locals.
Exactly.
Where
It's
you're
like-
trying to get to work. Where are they going?
I see them riding their bikes in the morning when I'm driving to work. Like they're just,
Having a good day,
Ugh.
relaxing. Okay, so let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so the round table.
So the whole objective of the roundtable is, the IRS has ramped up. There was all that money built in, both the Inflation Reduction Act and I think the Build Back Better, like a bunch of legislation that's gotten passed since Biden took office. 87,000 new IRS agents and just the overreach that comes with that. And so Florida is trying to combat to the extent they can. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the federal government, but to the extent that they can. So Patronus is holding these roundtables, trying to just generate awareness about the issue. And there's a hotline that people or a portal on his website where people can report if the IRS is harassing them. I mean, Caruso shared this awful story because I didn't realize he's a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did know that.
He shared a story, and this happened 20 years ago, where he not inherited a client, but he picked up a client that was under exam by the IRS, a small business owner, that they were auditing his business, him personally. Like the agents must have been just out for blood, literally, and it was affecting his marriage, everything. And the agent showed up at his house when, his wife answered the door. He was not home, went into his kitchen, started taking the silverware and the china.
What?
And said to the wife, good luck eating dinner tonight. Walked out. She called her husband, ballistic.
Yes.
The husband decides to go to the IRS office. He calls Caruso on the way, says what he's going to do. He's like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I have to let them know you're coming. Please don't go there. Please turn around. Like, this isn't worth it.
Oh my god.
He ended up going to a hotel instead, and he committed suicide. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he was the first speaker at the round table, and he started off with that story, and I was like, holy moly, like, where do we go from here? I mean, I thought it was bad enough. One of my clients that I actually picked up earlier this year, they're under audit by the IRS for both business and personal, and an agent showed up at their doorstep.
Doing what?
Demanding payment. I mean, IRS is like brutal, but a lot of times there's non-communication that leads up to that.
Right.
And obviously, like, you have to communicate with them. But it is not okay for the IRS to show up on your doorstep. And it's not okay
They're
for them
not
to
a
be
law
vindictive.
agency.
They're not.
They are not a
not.
law agency.
So
Taxes aren't in the Constitution, but that's a whole nother
Taxation
story.
is theft.
it is theft.
100%.
I mean, I've dealt with the IRS for a very long time. And, I haven't done a ton of, like, audits and, I haven't dealt with them. I've responded to notices. I've responded to penalties. I've gotten penalties waived for my clients.
And they get a lot of stuff wrong.
They do. But
that they just
if you
assume that
don't
you don't
know-
know how to fix
exactly.
it, and so then
Exactly.
they make. Tim Pool talks about this. He's
Yeah.
like they send you a letter saying, "Oh, you owe us another $150."
Yeah.
You say, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't have the money to fight, or $1,000. I don't have the
Right.
money to fight it. I guess I'll pay it."
yeah.
And you probably didn't owe them $1,000, but if
Right.
they do that with enough people, look at the revenue that they're generating for
Yep.
themselves. They're internal revenue.
Yeah.
Revenue. It's in the
And
word.
so, and that's kind of what I shared.
It's in the name.
That's kind of what I shared when I was asked the question is, like, from a business perspective, like, my dad's companies are S corporations. They're pass-throughs. They don't pay any tax at the corporate level. It passes through to his personal return. But the way that the IRS is starting to, get more and more down on small businesses like pass-throughs is through, like, the Affordable Care Act. And, when Obamacare was passed, there was all this, you have to offer healthcare if you're over 50 employees.
50 employees, yep.
And, like, if it's deemed unaffordable, then the employees can go to the marketplace and they get the premium tax credit where it's subsidized. And if the employer is found to be offering insurance that's not affordable to some of its employees, then the employer gets fined.
But what if? What?
Yeah. And there's a whole calculation as to, like, how it's considered affordable or not affordable, and it depends on the employee's wage and, all of this. So we've gotten notices in the past. Like, this is really, I think the penalty started around 2018, maybe 2016. But we've gotten proposed penalties in the tens of thousands of dollars because it's like X amount times the number of employees that were deemed like they weren't offered affordable health care. And, fortunately for us, like, I can decipher IRS language, but we also use Paychecks. We use a payroll service that has a whole department.
I'm pretty sure Paychecks is like one of the oldest companies. It's an old company.
Probably.
They've been around for a very
They
long
have
time.
been. Yeah. They have a whole department that deals with this because obviously they have probably thousands, tens of thousands of businesses that they do. And so the first time we actually paid a penalty, was this year, and it was for the 2020 tax year. It was one employee, and Paychecks
So
reviewed
employees
it.
file and say, "I'm not able to." An employee has to start this process, right? Or
So the
does
employee
the
declines.
IRS look at it?
The employee declines the insurance offered by the company. Then
Okay.
they go out and they get their own marketplace plan, and of course the premium tax credits through their 1040. Like,
Okay.
at the end of the year when they file their 1040, they get like a. This is really in the weeds on taxes, but, like, if you have your insurance through your employer, you get a 1095C. If you have a marketplace plan, you get a 1095A.
Okay.
And when your tax preparer is preparing your return, they have to take those forms into account, and based on the level of income that you have, if you have a 1095A, it will determine whether or not you were given too much premium tax credit during the year. Because basically, when you go into the marketplace, you tell them how much you think you're going to make for the year, and then they tell you how much subsidy you get. And then you choose the plan, and it's already subsidized, and then you just pay that monthly premium. But then at the end of the year, when you actually report your income for the year, then it has to be trued up. So I've seen tax clients where they've had to pay in through their tax return because they made more money than they thought,
than they anticipated.
And then
they
they weren't really entitled to the amount of subsidy that they got on their.
So they owe that money back. What
Yeah.
a complicated mess.
It is. It is.
All
I mean,
all
this-
of tax code is a complicated.
It
It's
really-
on
I mean,
purpose. It's on purpose.
I
Exactly.
have a copy of the 2010 Internal Revenue Code and Regulations in my office that I took
How
with
big
me
is it?
when I took with me when I left Deloitte. I was like, let me take the most recent version of the Internal Revenue Code with me.
Is it like this big?
Really,
It's this big.
it's like 7 books. It takes up an entire filing cabinet on my office. It's.
I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised. I am always act so shocked.
I'm trying
but
to
I'm
think
not
if,
really shocked.
I'm trying to think if the code is 2 books and the regulations are like 5 or 7 books, or
Either
vice
way.
versa. But because
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry. I would just okay. So what is IRS doing that Florida is saying no or warning people about, and what's on Jimmy Patronis's website that people can report?
There's a portal where people can report if they're being harassed and abused by the IRS,
Okay.
so they can share their stories. So at least Florida can shed a light on, because you think about it, so many people are migrating to Florida. They're moving to Florida. They're bringing their businesses with them. They're bringing their income and their assets and their wealth with them, and it's a no income tax state. But obviously the IRS is everywhere. Like, you pay federal income taxes, but because we have freedom in Florida, it's like we're under scrutiny at the same time by the deep state and
The peoples.
the peoples. So
The peoples with the lower P, not the capital P. Because
so-
we're the people with the capital P.
yes.
Okay,
So
sorry.
that's like just awareness is the first thing, and then to the extent the state can like fight the agents from actually like coming in, maybe setting up additional offices. I don't know.
And then I heard something on the news report because I saw the link that you sent, which
Yeah.
we should drop down there because Abby's
Yeah.
on the news.
What was the first link I needed to share?
the first
The
link?
property insurance. Both WPTV
Yes.
links.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those
Okay.
WPTV links, and it said that it's also about like the $600.
Oh, yes, which this probably matters to way more of our viewers than the small business, like increased reporting and all that. So it was pushed to 2023. It didn't take effect in 2022 like it was supposed to, but another portion of one of the pieces of Biden legislation was like Venmo and Zelle and PayPal. They dropped their reporting threshold where they have to issue a 1099-K to individuals from $20,000 to $600, which is the regular threshold for like regular 1099s.
Is that
So if you think about, like, I'll give you an example. I know someone who their ex pays their child support, through Venmo every month. So you think about child support payments, it's probably going to be more. It should be more than $600 a month,
probably
especially
at
if there's
least
multiple kids involved.
$1,500, $2,000 a month?
Is $600?
Is that person who receives the child support, are they going to get a 1099-K from Venmo at the end of the year for child support? That's not taxable, but is the IRS going to care?
No,
Yeah.
they're gonna look at it
No,
as
'cause
income.
it's just receipt as
Yeah.
money.
So it's $600 a year, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's very low.
That's like, so like if my dad, which we do all the time, like we're going on a family vacation soon, and he rented the Airbnb, and we pay him the Airbnb, our portion of the Airbnb, and then I also Venmo'd my dad like a few days ago something that I owed that my mom and I, some makeup that we bought. So then that was more, that's $800, $600 in a month.
Right, but technically reimbursable if they can prove that it's a reimbursable.
Yeah, but that means I have to go, it's all
He would have
to prove
that it's a reimbursable
Oh my gosh.
if they pick it up.
But won't they automatically now send it if they see transactions higher than $600 for the year? Venmo and PayPal and Zelle?
Yeah.
So they're going to be automatically sending it. So you're going to get it in the mail. And if you don't do the due diligence to show all of the receipts that it's a reimbursement.
Yeah.
Even if it's a birthday
the,
gift.
The onus is on you, the taxpayer, to prove to the IRS that it's not income.
It's kind of like you have to prove you're innocent before you're guilty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it used to be for 1099, like if the minimum threshold you had to report was $10,000 a year, right?
No.
No,
It's always 600.
600?
$600 and
Mm-hmm.
untaxable income is all you're allowed to receive.
This is not good.
No.
This is bad.
No,
This is very bad.
I mean, and to like you kind of get it, right? Because we have all of these ways to pay each other now. We
Yeah.
all of these, like we go out for lunch and somebody picks up the bill and it's like, oh, I'll just give you,
Yeah, instead of having to do math at the table.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
I'll give you
know.
$50, whatever.
Right, exactly. And so, but is what was happening is a lot of business owners were paying people out of Zelle or Venmo or whatever else.
And what a record-keeping nightmare that is.
Yes. Have I mentioned lately that I'm so glad I'm not in accounting anymore?
I'm like, I have a few tax clients that they do so many Zelle transactions, and I'm like, please stop. Or I'm going to fire you as a client.
What's better for people to use?
Anything where they can accurately keep track of their records through a QuickBooks or a Wave or something. Just keep good records, please.
Yeah. So if they do a Zelle and then they just do the deduction in QuickBooks.
If they do Zelle, they just need to record it properly as the type of transaction,
Right.
whatever expense, if it's an outflow, like whatever the expensive. If they're receiving income that way, they should also properly track it, to clients or customers or whatever. It's just
Does
there's
this apply to nonprofits too?
probably
I would
accounting is
I would say
accounting.
so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Money is money.
No, I mean like the following.
Oh, the 1099.
Yeah. Probably not because nonprofits pay tax deductible, right? Or
They're not taxable as
Right.
long as they follow the rules. I don't know.
So interesting. I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.